Welcome to Always Authors, the literary podcast that features two authors in candid conversation. On this episode, we're excited to bring you Zakiya Dalila Harris, author of the debut novel The Other Black Girl, which she is adapting into a Netflix series produced by Rashida Jones. Zakiya received her MFA in creative writing from the New School, then spent nearly 3 years in editorial at Knopf Doubleday. Her essays and book reviews have appeared in Cosmopolitan, Guernica, and the Rumpus. Zakiya is joined by Kellye Garrett, author of the suspense novel Like a Sister, which was featured on The Today Show and was a Book of the Month April 2022 selection. She also wrote the Detective by Day lightweight mysteries, which have won the Anthony, Agatha, Lefty and IPPY awards, and have been featured on The Today Show as a best summer read. Kellye also wrote for the hit TV series Cold Case and is a co-founder of Crime Writers of Colour. Speaking for the first time, Zakiya and Kellye share with each other the role TV writing has played in their book authorship, the courage it takes to write unapologetically about their experience, and how to make the golden age of BIPOC mystery writing more than a trend. Inspiration starts now.
Hi, Zakiya.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, Kellye. I am very good. Very excited to be chatting with you.
So are you in like second book hell right now?
You know, I'm hoping to be soon. I am.
Have you not started your second book?
I've sort of started it, but it's really hard for me to get in and stay in because there's just so many other things going on. Working on the TV adaptation of The Other Black Girl, which is really exciting.
Are you writing it?
I'm co-writing it.
That's
yeah.
amazing. How's it going?
So, it's really great. We're still very early in the process though. Like writer's room hasn't been created yet. Just have the pilot. But it's so different. It's so different.
It's
and then
different. I worked in TV actually.
Well, so before we get into all of this, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this. I have been wanting to talk to you for so long. We have never, for our listeners, Kellye and I have never met. We are Twitter friends. And I believe 2 years ago, Kellye, you emailed me about joining Crime Writers of Color, and I was like, I would love to, but my book doesn't really have crime in it. And you were like, that's okay. Come on and join us. And just from that, I was like, she's really cool. And fast forward to now, and I've just finished.
I feel like if COVID didn't happen, because you're in Brooklyn, I'm in Jersey, we would be
know.
friends, we'd be going out for drinks, but
I know
COVID happened, and I've just been sitting in this room for like 2 years.
I know. We'll have to do that after this.
Yes, after this next wave.
Yes, after the next wave.
So in 2025, we're good.
Yes, exactly. It's a date.
It's a date. So that's so cool. So you wrote the pilot.
Yes. Yeah. Co-wrote it with
co-writer.
Rashida Jones. Did not do it all on my own. Thank goodness. It would have been a mess. But yeah, we after I sold the book in years are so hard now. 2020, right before the pandemic. I also was very lucky to be able to also get a deal with Hulu and adapting this book into a show. So it's been.
So did you want to write it, or like was it whose idea was it for you to be the co-writer? And when you say Rashida Jones, who's that? Just so people know.
Yeah. So Rashida Jones is fabulous human. She is a writer, actor, producer. She was in Parks and Rec.
That's what I thought you were talking about.
Yes.
I think she's talking about
Yes.
Quincy Jones' daughter.
Yes, and also Quincy Jones. I know. I was like,
Yeah.
Quincy Jones's daughter produced that amazing, and I believe also directed that amazing documentary Quincy on Netflix, which I highly recommend watching. But yeah, she's been really like a mentor figure throughout this process.
So cool.
I mean, it's all been through Zoom, so that was really surreal at first meeting her and being in like my studio in like summer 2020, like. The world, who knows what's going to happen, but it was such a positive thing to have. And so, yeah, we have a pilot, and now we're just assembling all the pieces, and there's so much, Kellye. There's so much.
Yeah, it's so interesting because like I worked in TV not for for a few years. I was a writer on the show called Cold Case.
Oh, I know Cold Case. I was going to ask you about it.
My sister loves Cold Case, and so it's
So
just
good.
interesting because it's such a different experience because like it's collaborative. Like you said, that what happens is there's a writer's room where basically a bunch of people are sitting around a conference room just discussing the book, versus when you're a writer, like, or not the book, the episode, right? But as a writer, like of a book, you're literally by yourself. I'm bouncing my head against the wall. It's a different experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, like, when did Cold Case and writing for TV come in? Like, were you interested in fiction before that? Like, do you want to, I guess I'll ask this formally, like, do you want to say a little bit about your trajectory, your career trajectory? Because I find it so fascinating.
It's called I'm Afraid. That's like the theme of my career trajectory. So I wanted to write since I was like 5. But I would always like start stories and never finish them. So I knew from an early age that I was a problem finishing the book. And so I kind of was like, well, I'll just do some other stuff until I can write a book. So I was a journalist for a few years. I worked for a magazine called Vibe like 500 years ago.
Oh, I know that.
And then I was like, I'm going to go to film school. So I was lucky to get into USC, which is, I would argue, and I think most people would agree, the top film school in the country. And
Definitely.
So I got my master's in writing for screen and television. Then I spent a few years in Hollywood still developing. I worked on Cold Case. Got let go from Cold Case, and I was like, oh, well, I have nothing to lose. And then I had a good idea for a book, which was my first book, Hollywood Homicide. And I finally stopped being afraid, Zakiya, and I wrote it. It took, mind you, I didn't write overnight. It took like 3 years, but I wrote it. And so that was me, like this dream that I had for like 30 plus years finally coming, and it's still hard to believe that, like, oh, I did it. Like 5-year-old me would be really proud of myself. Like, you did that,
Yes.
And what about you?
That. You did that.
Yeah, it's still hard. I still think I'm like this debut when I'm not. I'm like 5 years in. But what about you? What was your trajectory? I know obviously you worked in publishing.
Yes. I dabbled a little bit, a couple years, close 2.5, 3 years, I guess. Worked at Penguin Random House before writing this book. I got the idea for this book while I was sitting at my desk.
Wait, have you talked to your coworker? Have your coworkers read it? Are they like,
everyone's read it. Which,
no, literally everyone's read it.
Oh, well, thank you. But it's funny, I mean, because when I quit, I started writing this book in 2019, and I was working in publishing at the time, and I had been promoted to assistant editor, which, like, anybody who has anybody in publishing knows that, like, promotions are a very big deal. But I was very not excited about it because before publishing, I had done my MFA, and I'd always hoped I would become a writer in some way. Not really sure how or how full-time that would be, but I always loved it. I always enjoyed it. Did my MFA, like I said, at the New School, but in nonfiction writing because I was waitlisted for fiction. And then after a little bit of time in the program, I was like, yeah, I think I'm just going to stick with nonfiction because I really liked my classmates. I really liked my professors. Like, I also really enjoyed just writing in this way about myself and about the world, which is something I kind of started to do in college, but really, like, reading nonfiction writers just made me be like, oh, I'm going to try this. And so, yeah, a lot of the pieces and essays that I wrote in that MFA ended up going into Nella, which is partly why there's so much of me in this book, because, like, all the hair stuff, all the anxiety about not being Black enough, all of those are things that I had experienced and was really figuring out and still figuring out now. And so, yeah, it was an interesting thing but I will add, because not everyone, but a lot of people are like, oh, nonfiction, how did that happen? That you wrote this book? And I don't know, I feel like it's all, it all informs the other, like, it's all organic. And yeah, I just stuck with that. And I was also book reviewing too, which I enjoyed.
It's funny because I identify with Nella in so many different ways and that I grew up in a predominantly white, like I was the only Black girl in my school in high school. And then
Did you grow up in New Jersey too?
I did. Grew up in New Jersey in Morris County in
Mm-hmm.
like a very it's a red state in a blue. It was a red county in a blue state, and so I grew up as an only, and then I went the complete opposite direction where I went to historically Black college. I went to Florida A&M University, and I had my authentic. I remember like there was a book, Authentic Black Experience or Authentic Negro Experience. I had that, and my mom and I were talking. And the interesting thing is that the good thing about that is I'm comfortable in almost in every space, I've been that, I think every Black woman in corporate America has had that Nella experience where you like walk in and everyone like you're the only, and they look at you, they look around and they see you and like, oh, it's diverse here because they see like one Black person, one Asian person, but I'm looking out. Yeah, and I see a bunch of white people, like, and the one Asian person, and so I'm comfortable there because that's how I grew up,
Yeah.
Like, and what about you?
Yeah, I mean, same. I always joke about this, but I mean, I grew up in Hamden, Connecticut, so at the time it was, I mean, it's still very diverse, but the neighborhood that I moved to, that my family moved us to when I was like four or five, maybe six, happened to be the whitest neighborhood in Hamden, but it was the one with the best public school. So that's why we ended up there. And so it was this interesting trade-off. And there would be other Black people in my grade, but we'd all be spread out. So everybody else got diversity and we got diversity. And I wonder about that. I mean, it wasn't every class, but it definitely affected that. And I think also there would be very few Black girls too. Like there were Black boys who were coming up with me, but like, again, it's like so different. At least for me, it felt different. And so as I was going through that, though, I was aware of being the only one, but also not. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I knew during February when Black History Month happened, like, that's when I was going to feel super duper, like, different. But I'm still best friends with my childhood best friend from when I was in kindergarten, who was a white woman. And, like, I very much never had that experience of, very lucky, but never had that experience of like being called anything, although I did witness that happen with another couple of students. But I very much was living though at home this like very like Black life, like or education, this is where we came from. And then I'd be at school and it was like this whole other life.
Yeah.
And that really kind of continued throughout a lot of my life until I found my like Black sisterhood at UNC, PWI, Chapel Hill. But I thankfully found an awkward, quirky Black girl like me who then introduced me to some more really cool, awkward, Black, quirky girls. And we're all in a chat still. And it's like the most beautiful thing. But I'm curious because I thought about HBCUs. Like what made you decide that? Do you have family at an HBCU? Had you always known you wanted to be at one?
So my dad went to Morgan State, which is an HBCU for undergrad, and then he went to Howard for med school. But I just had like the same thing. My parents are very pro-Black, and like my maternal grandmother was like a really well-known activist in Grand Rapids, Michigan. My dad has a gym named after him in Newark, New Jersey. So like I just come from very pro-Black people, and so like I've always been very proud to be Black. I've always been really comfortable being Black. And I had a family friend who mentioned FAM. She's like, oh, I always wanted to either go to FAM or to this school that she ended up going to. And as soon as I heard Florida A&M, I was like, oh, and that's where I'm going. And I went there and visited, and they offered me a scholarship, and I never applied to any other school, and it was interesting because I came from New Jersey, and Florida is the South. And I think we realize that now. Florida is the South. But when this was like the 90s. I'm pretty old.
No.
And so like I thought of Florida as like Miami and Disney World. Like, oh, and I remember I went down there because Tallahassee is pretty much South Georgia because it's pretty much right where the Panhandle starts. As I think it is.
I can't tell you.
And I can remember I saw a Confederate flag on a truck, and I was like, oh crap, I'm in the South.
Yes.
And same thing. I never had an experience where anyone called me the N-word, anything like that. But my senior year, some white guy literally was putting bombs on our campus. And he's like in jail for life now. And he was the vending machine replacement guy. And he didn't think Black people should get education. And so he was putting these little makeshift bombs. And so that's like, those are those experiences that you have as a Black person. Like I would like, like that is crazy.
That is so crazy. So. I definitely had a similar moment like that where it's like, ooh, right. Like I am in the South. When I was looking at schools, I basically knew I wasn't going to go anywhere in New England. It's like, I'm not going to Boston. Don't like Boston. Still don't really like Boston. I'm sorry for anyone listening who's from Boston.
Sorry, Boston.
I like some parts of it. But I knew I wanted to just go far enough anyway. My sister had gone to Northwestern. I was like, she seems to like this. I could do this too. But I remember touring, and there was a Confederate statue on campus that years later I would learn about. I did a project on. It's now been torn down. I believe 2020, it did not survive, which I love. But I remember being like, this is really weird. And that feeling stayed throughout my time there, and would get louder in some places. Right. And sometimes I didn't really think about it, but like the campus, I mean, a lot of buildings named after very problematic people. But so I'm going back a little bit because I mean, I want to talk about Like a Sister and Hollywood Homicide. I mean, I finished Hollywood Homicide, the first book, today. It's so fun, Kellye. Like your voice, your protagonists are so rich and so relatable. Like you were talking about Nella, but I relate so hard with Dana and with Lena.
Lena.
You know, you have like one voice in your head. But I just, have you always been a mystery lover or reader? Like what got you, I mean, Cold Case is a mystery in itself, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's a procedural.
Doesn't it start with those moments and then you go back? But like what brought you into that world?
I always loved it. I used to love like Encyclopedia Brown. I wasn't as into Nancy Drew because I could not connect with the pretty blonde woman with the Mustang. Like that was not my high school experience. You know, and when I was about like, my mom is a big reader, and she always let me have full access to any of her books on her bookshelf. So I discovered Jackie Collins like at 12, but I also discovered cozy mysteries at like 12. And once I found those, you know, and I have a very overactive imagination. So I can't like read really graphically, like torture, rape, pedophilia. I can't read that stuff, but I still like mysteries. I like to be able to figure things out. So like cozies help. Even domestic suspense, I don't read a lot of the ones with like missing kids or things like that, but I like books that aren't super dark, but and have lots of humor in them, but ours are mysteries. So, and like, do you consider, I feel like people say Other Black Girl is a mystery, a thriller, but like, because I was like, it seems more like horror. And I know in the beginning part you had that Tannery do Black horror thing, and so like, how do you describe your own book?
Kellye, I said, oh no, because I was like, oh, this question is always so hard. This book, the way I describe this book, which I can't really put on the copy, but it's like an amalgamation of me and all the weird things that I like. I mean, I wasn't a big mystery person growing up. I was more into horror, like R.L. Stine, and as I got a little older, Stephen King and things like that. So that's where that element came from, of the horror kind of sci-fi element. But it's funny. I mean, when I go back to when I was querying this book and trying to find an agent, I definitely would tweak what I was saying in the copy to kind of fit, because I felt like there is The Office, kind of the mundane nature of The Office. There is the satire, kind of, even though I feel like it's a little more real than people maybe like to admit sometimes, including myself. But then also I wanted to have this element that really, like, the only way I can describe it, I feel like it's kind of like the Twilight Zone. And so I really wanted to have that opening with that quote, Black History is Black Horror, but then also the prologue opening as a way of kind of priming the reader and making them maybe think that things are going to completely go in a very different direction. And that's definitely something that I get the most feedback on is like, where did this come from? And like, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I just have a sick mind. I don't know. I just enjoy
I think it's great that you wrote the book you wanted to write. Because I think, especially as a person of color, like, or even just in general as a writer, it's like, do you write to market or do you write the book you want to write? And as a person of color, if you write the book that's to market, it's not about Black people. You know what I'm saying? And so like,
well, totally. That's such a great point. And I would sometimes, and I'd be curious to hear what your process is as well when you're writing. But like, I definitely had to turn off that voice that was like, that knew how publishing goes and knew how.
You know,
but then, exactly. Yeah. But then I also turned it on in some places of, especially with like querying and comps and that whole kind of messy, but also interesting, I find, world of the way that we talk about books. And the thing though, it's like, it was hard to compare the other Black girl to anything else. And I also, I mean, full disclaimer again, I don't read as much mystery as I want to, but this has definitely inspired me to read more because I very much enjoy guessing and being like, oh, I think I know who it was.
Yeah, it's a fun
and
part.
Like I love over analyzing every single thing in my day-to-day life. So reading Hollywood Homicide and Like a Sister was so much fun because I was doing that all the time. And then the conclusion was so satisfying in both of them. But also I have a lot of favorite parts, but I love that your characters have these like curses that are, that are sometimes not like your normal one. I don't know if we can actually curse on this podcast,
They
but
can
like,
bleep it.
yeah, it's like S-nuts. S-nuts.
I'll say shit nuts.
Yes. It's so good. It's so good. And I have to ask you, like, I mean, this is maybe my biggest interaction with mystery is Murder, She Wrote. Did you ever watch Murder, She Wrote?
Can I tell you, I've never, is that horrible? I've never watched it. Is that horrible?
Gosh. It's
admit
so
I
cozy.
never watched it. Maybe I should.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. Wait, can you tell also, maybe for listeners who aren't as familiar with the mystery world, can you define what a cozy mystery is?
Sure. So a cozy mystery in the overall sense is normally an amateur detective who it's a lighter book, so there's usually no cursing in it, there's no sex, there's no on-screen violence, and it's usually lighter. It could be funny. It's usually funnier, more traditional mystery, and it's a whole subgenre. And I grew up reading them, and it's interesting because recently it's kind of become very narrow in the definition. Like my Hollywood Homicide is a book about I call her a semi-famous Megan Brooke Black actress who drives past a hit and run, sees a billboard offering a $15,000 reward, and realizes like, oh, maybe I might know something about it. And it takes place in Hollywood, and it's very funny, in my opinion. And,
it's so funny. And it's so funny.
And so I thought I was writing a cozy, and it's funny because you were talking earlier about how because you knew so much about publishing, that's like you had to turn it off. I came into it very naively, where there are books of cozies or lighter books and mysteries by people of color, including Black women, but there were not back in my day when I started this book in like 2011 and got it finished in 2014 and went on sub in 2015 and took a year to sell. And I thought, oh, well, obviously no one's writing these books, that's why. And so I'm just going to write the book. And it wasn't that, it's just that publishing's racist. And so they weren't publishing these books. And so
they're like, who is the audience?
Right.
Like, we don't know how to find the audience, even though we have all the tools to find the audience.
And so Hollywood Homicide took a year to sell, and it sold to a mid-sized publisher, Midnight Ink, which is now closed. And I always tell this story, and not to toot my own horn, but because I think a lot of times people who are, I'll just say like white, are not used to realizing their privilege. They're like, oh, well, if your book didn't sell, it just wasn't good enough. Right? That could be the only, it's nothing to do with it's not racism. It's just not good enough. So my book, the book that Terry bought had very little edits when it got published. And it won 4 major awards. It won the Anthony, the Agatha, the Lefty, and the IPPY Award for Best First Novel. And 3 of those are 3 major mystery awards. It got 2-star reviews. It was debut of the month in Library Journal. And so I say that again, not to brag, but to say that the same book that had all these accolades took over a year to sell. And every big 5 publisher rejected it. So you can't tell me that I'm not good enough. Versus no one gave me the opportunity, right?
I'm so glad, Kellye, you said that, because it can seem, the publishing world can seem like such a machine that, like, and this is the thing about publishing that, there are a lot of things about publishing that frustrates me, but it shows itself, how do I say this? It pretends to be, in a lot of ways, this very, like, wholesome's not the word, but like it's very objective and that like we're just publishing like what the world wants to read. But like I think for people again outside of this world, it's like you kind of assume everything that's published is important. Like there are all these hoops you go through, but it gets so complicated when you know all of those factors. And so I definitely have that in my mind of just also how many books, period, that don't get bought for the reason of like, oh, we just bought a book by this Black author. We just bought a book by da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, it's so infuriating. But also I think it's important for especially writers who are working on their craft, and it's so important to write the story you want to write. Because
don't write to market.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like it's easy for me to say that. But it's so important because when it's that representation of what you want, it's going to feel so good when you get it published and see it in the stores and have conversations like this.
Not like you didn't sell out. Because I think I was like, 'cause I remember my cousin was like, you should just write about white people. Because I had friends who like would sell their book in like 6 weeks. And I was like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, I want to write about, and that's one thing I think I'm stubborn in that, as people know. I'm very stubborn in that way. And I think even now, like, it's interesting because publishing right now is in this interesting place where now they want diversity, right?
Yes.
And they're like throwing money at us, and it's a part of it as George Floyd, which should not be a reason why you should, and my thing is, I'm like, well, that's great, but is this something that's a status quo or is this a trend?
Right.
Because in the 90s with mysteries, there were a bunch of Black mystery authors who were published, and then by like 2005, almost like only person was like Walter Mosley and a couple other people who were still published, right?
Yeah,
and my thing is, I'm always, that's publishing, that's a business, right? And so my thing is, I'm always writing Black people. I wrote Black people before we were trendy. I'm writing it now that we are trendy. And when we're not trendy anymore, which hopefully is not happening, hopefully it's now like the success of your book and like Sean Cosby's book and all these people's book will make it a status quo.
Yeah.
I'm going to be writing about Black people all the time.
Yes.
And so that's why I think I get frustrated when like certain people like all of a sudden decide to like be diverse and throw all these diverse characters and stuff. And I'm like, you're doing it because you think it's an easy sell. I'm doing this because this is like what I truly believe. This is my passion.
Yes.
So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I have that concern all the time, even with this book, where it's like I didn't have to go through the system. And I have had people ask me, like, did you think about self-publishing? Which is like,
why would they jump to that?
Well,
like that was a thing they jumped to?
I think in terms of, and Black people have asked me this, to be honest, because of how much I am kind of like definitely talking about publishing in a negative way in this book, and how all of the systems are very, very messed up. And so I've had that question and I've thought about it of like, why didn't I do that? And I think the obvious reason is like, I really wanted this book to find readers in a way that like I knew on my own, I'm so bad at social media. I'm so bad at like being in that world. Like I wish I could do more, but I just like cannot. And so all of those things, I was like, yeah, I mean, I just got to go through the traditional system. And I'm, again, feel so lucky that I found a team that, uh, understood this book again and just like knew what I wanted it to be, didn't make me change all the Black references, explain the hair
I want
things.
to talk about that too.
Yeah. So
it's because that's the thing. So like I want to talk to you because first of all, like obviously I got all the references, Jack and Jill, CP time, even like the read. I was like, yes, I get it. Like you have my favorite line in the book is you say, like, it took me years to grow this hair. And I was like, that's Black people, like, it's not inches, it's years. Like, I get that,
Yes.
And so I was like, it's funny because the best compliment I've ever gotten about my book, it was Hollywood Homicide. And this Black woman said on my favorite gossip forum that she didn't even know I was reading it. Like, I felt like she wrote this book for me.
Oh, yes.
And I felt like you wrote this book. Like, I'm like, I see myself in Nella. I see myself in Shawnee. I see myself in all these characters. And like, how much like did you have to struggle with, like, how much do you explain because you didn't explain Jack and Jill.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever said like CP time what is, you know what I'm saying? And you just assumed people knew. And it's funny because that's what I was struggling with like a sister. And I remember I like have a line about like laying my edges, and I put a note into my editor like, Black people will understand this, like I'm not explaining this, so like how was that a struggle for you to do? Like, and did people ever go like, what does this mean? Do they not understand? Like, how did that work for you?
Yeah. Oh, I again feel very lucky because I didn't have to change any of those things. Like everything that was in this, I wrote as it was. But I think part of why I had such a clear runway is because this book is literally talking about the ways publishing can silence Black women, can silence our voices. So, I mean, it's maybe a very cynical way to look at it, but I do feel like I had a lot of space to make this what I wanted it to be, because the whole point is we deserve to be in this space just as much as anybody else. And we deserve to not have to explain 4C hair, because you know how many times I've had to look up references and A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all of these books. And I think we're the better for it too. Like I have gotten, and this has been really fun. I'm curious if you've experienced this from people you know or people you don't know, but so many white readers have told me they have looked up 4C hair. They have looked up, I can't think of another reference, but writers that I mentioned in this book that maybe we're not learning in mainstream education or in elementary school, like all of those things. And that is going hand in hand with your comment about having Black readers be like, I feel seen. That is also very satisfying to me, where it's like, cool, you did the work. Look how easy that was. We can keep doing that. And I feel very lucky, but I also, I hope that continues for other writers.
We're going to take a short break to hear from our sponsor, but when we come back, we'll pack our bags for a metaphorical trip to a desert island.
Because we're both avid readers, Kellye, I want to point this out for a second. Always Authors is sponsored by Bookfinity, a free online service that was created by readers for readers. It is super easy to use, too. Just go to bookfinity.com to set up a free account and take their brief quiz that identifies the kind of books you like to read the most. Then, Bookfinity matches you with books you'll love and introduces you to authors you might not know yet. You can give a thumbs up or down to the books they suggest, so each time you visit the site, their recommendations become more refined. Bookfinity helps you curate your own personal library from the comfort of your own home. So I'm going to check out bookfinity.com and see what new books they help me discover.
Always Authors is committed to supporting independent booksellers everywhere. Today, we're giving a shout out to Two Dandelions Bookshop on Main Street in Brighton, Michigan. Two Dandelions feeds minds, hearts, and souls with every book sold.
So, Kellye,
yes,
if you were to be stranded on a desert island, these are the 3 books I would recommend. The Spook Who Sat by the Door by Sam Greenlee, Goosebumps Choose Your Own Adventure, Scream of the Evil Genie by R.L. Stine, and Roald Dahl's collection of short stories. So The Spook Who Sat by the Door by Sam Greenlee came out in the late 60s, early 70s. I don't know if you've read it, but it's essentially about this Black man who is hired to become a CIA agent. And he's really good at the training and all the stuff that goes into it. But the reason why he's been hired is because they're like, oh, we got to just hire one Black guy, got to have this token for political reasons. But then he ends up going rogue and starts fighting the system. That's in the short way of saying it, because I think it's just a fun read without knowing too much about it.
I love spy stuff, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's also a movie that came out in the 70s. I didn't see it yet, but I've heard it's really fun. So that's one. And then, of course, Goosebumps. I feel like if you're on an island, it'll be nice to have a lot of different endings available. So that was me cheating with Choose Your Own Adventure. I loved those books when I was a kid, too. Like, it was so much fun. And then why am I blanking out on Roald Dahl. I have been having so much fun reading Roald Dahl's short stories that are for adults. A lot of them are very dark and twisted. The specific one that I'm talking about is the best of Roald Dahl. There's a little bit of death in it, but nothing too intense. So very fun.
I can't wait to check those out. I used to love Choose Your Own Adventure when I was younger, so I'm super excited about the R.L. Stine book. So for me, when I think desert island, I think of the beach and a beach read. So I'm going to suggest 3 what I consider beach reads by women of color crime fiction authors. So when you're on that desert island, you can be twisting and turning so the time goes quickly. So the first one is by Sandra S.G. Wong. It's called In the Dark We Forget. It comes out this summer. She's Canadian and she is of Asian descent, and so is her main character. And it's really interesting because it's about a woman who wakes up with amnesia and has to figure out what's going on. The second book came out last year. You might know Wanda Morris. It's called All Her Little Secrets, and it takes place in Atlanta. And it's kind of like a legal, kind of an update on a legal thriller about this Black woman who comes into work one day and her boss is dead, and she has to figure out what happened. And then the final one I'm going to say is not what I was going to originally say, but based on our conversation, I would definitely say to do the Blanche White series. I'm going to cheat and give you all 4 books from the Blanche White series by Barbara Neely. The first one is called Blanche on the Lamb. And again, it's about this deeper complected Black woman who's a maid and uses the fact that she's basically invisible to a lot of people to her advantage when it comes to finding out what's going on when people die around her. So those are my 3 suggestions. I can't wait to read yours.
Those are so good. I loved All Her Little Secrets.
You already read it. We can read it again.
No, I will read it again.
Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit. It's interesting because the crime fiction community, like especially the people of color in it, like we're super supportive of each other. Like we are like each other's biggest cheerleaders. And some people don't understand why it's not like a competition. Like, like
we all win.
Nell and Hazel, and it's like, because if one of us wins, we know we all win, because the success of your book, and like, again, I'll mention Sean Cosby. I say yes. Cosby is a really good friend of mine. That's great because I can't get mad at y'all, because that means that you are probably the reason why I got the money I got for my book, and I'm getting the promotion I got for my book, and you're opening the door for people behind us. And so I'm like, I can't be a competition for me, because I know that we're all in this together, and we all have to be in this together because of the stuff we're going through. Right?
Yes, absolutely. We're all standing. Someone said this to me. I can't take the credit for this, but we are all standing on one another's shoulders and like just trying to get over this get through whatever this is, this world we're living in.
Yeah, and it's funny because especially in crime fiction right now, it's another golden age,
Yes.
when it comes to people of color, period. And I feel lucky that I am able to be publishing at this time, and and the great thing about Crime Writers of Color, which is this group I started with Walter Mosley and Fiji Pondian that you're a member of, is that we have over 300 members, and it's people like Walter Mosley and Naomi Hirahara, Sujata Masi, who are these people who have been publishing since the 90s or early 2000s. And then we have new people like, you who are debuts and people who just want to write a book. And just to have all that experience and that knowledge and like the Sujatas and the Naomis will share their knowledge, and it's just really amazing to like hear their stories. And I'm like, if this is the best time for us, person of color, to be publishing crime fiction or publishing period, I can't imagine what they were going through, because we still go through a lot of bullshit, right? Like, so I can't imagine what like Walter and like Naomi and Sujata were going through, and they had their books about their, brown people and, Japanese people. And like, it's just like, I can't imagine what they were going through, and the fact that they're still publishing it. I'm just like,
I know. 1,000%. Like, I think about that all the time. When I was at Penguin Random House, I would think about Toni Morrison being at Random House and just like all of the stuff, all of the things that we didn't have hashtags for yet. Not saying that hashtags fix everything, but like the visibility it was so different. But this actually is this leads into my other question for you. We talked a little bit about your introduction to mystery, but in general, like, who are some creators, doesn't have to be writers, but like people you're influenced by or feel inspired by?
I think when it comes to current, there's this woman named Rachel Halsell Hall, who, it's funny, you can't see this, but I have on this shirt that is it's a black unicorn with an afro for their hair. You see it? And
it's
so
beautiful, everyone. It's
hopefully
beautiful.
They'll show a picture of it, like just my boobs. Rachel has been publishing since like 2001. She moved to crime fiction like 10 years ago. And she's been consistently publishing black books, like a beautiful black woman as the lead character in these crime fiction novels. And I don't think she's getting the due recently, but I don't think Rachel really gets the due. And when I first came out with my book, or first announced my book deal, she slid in my DMs and said it's like seeing a unicorn, which is why I call black women authors unicorns. And I have my shirt I just bought. I put it on for this.
Yes.
And so like, she just inspires me because she has a day job, she has a family, and she just keeps putting out these amazing books.
Yeah.
Kind of like, it's just all these toxic things. Or it was the most recent. She has one coming out in September, and I'm not going to butcher the name. And so like people like that. And Barbara Neely was this black woman in the 90s who came out. She was a mystery writer.
Yeah, I've never read her.
She said that
I know the name.
Oh, that you should read it. Blanche on the Lamb.
Okay.
Maybe I'll do that for the 3 suggestions. Okay. And so and she came out right after Walter, and that was when the last trend was for us, and she would write about social issues too. And her main character was this darker, deeper complexion maid, and who was from the Boston area, but would spend time in the South for a couple of books. And she used the idea that she was invisible because she was the maid, and she was this big black woman who's not conventionally attractive to a lot of society. And she would use that to her advantage in these books, and they're very much slice of life. And she was like talking about like lead in the water like 20 years ago, before like Flint made it this big news, and so I'm just inspired by her. And when I won my Anthony, she was the last woman of color to win Anthony. She won in 93. I won in 2018. So like that was a big gap. And so she was she passed away right when the pandemic happened. But I was able to like talk to her a couple of times, and I was just in awe. Valerie Wilson Wesley is another amazing black woman, crime fiction author who is from New Jersey. So she'd write about Jersey, and like I was just so inspired by her. So there's like this whole generation of people who came before me, and I feel like I'm standing on their shoulders. Obviously, I can't not mention Walter Mosley, who is weird because he's a friend of mine now. Like if I called him, he'd answer. That's just strange to me that like Walter Mosley's my friend.
That makes so much sense to me.
Do you have any like any?
I love that.
Do you have any interesting like people you've met that you were like surprised, like any like people you admired who you met and like go like, wow, like they're nice, we're friends.
Yeah, I've been. It's been hard only because since I published The Other Black Girl in the pandemic. It wasn't 2020, it was 2021, but still a lot of my things were virtual. And so it's been more so through Twitter and Instagram. But I mean, I'm of course inspired by you and the entire community. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm not really on social media as much as I could be, but it feels and felt so nice to just have that space and to see, like you were saying before, of everyone just lifting one another up. Like those vibes are so good, and they really sustain me in a way that I don't think about enough, but it's just beautiful. So but yeah, I mean, other writers, there are a lot of writers who also, writers of color who published around the same time as me last year that I've gotten to know. So Donnie Walton, author of Final Revival of
I went to undergrad with Donnie.
I
went to undergrad together.
Florida. Wait, what is?
Yeah, Florida A&M in Tallahassee. She was a couple of years older than me, but yeah, it's so funny because her book blew up, and I'm like Opal Nev, and I was like, I've known Donnie since she was like 20 years old, and I was like 18, so it's
so
amazing.
Fun. Wow, yeah. I mean, she's just great. She's just so much positive energy. I mean, Mateo Escarapour, author of Black Book, which we joke our books are siblings because they're both about Black people working in white spaces, and they both go pretty off the rails. But he's just great. And he's also around my age, I think a year older or younger, I can't remember. But like, I think that is really nice because like, I don't know, I am always kind of like, in my MFA program, I was the youngest person in nonfiction, and that was very intimidating in a way, whereas like, I have nothing to write about. Like, I haven't even lived my life yet. But it's been cool to bond with Mateo over, just like figuring that out and navigating these spaces. And we've been on a lot of panels together. I'm looking at my bookshelf right now, which is why I'm like, getting me looking away. But yeah, and then I mean, I'm actually really inspired by, I'm a big music person. Okay. Big music person. So, I mean, Aretha Franklin, Sam Cooke.
Allegedly, she's my relative.
Wait, allegedly. What? How did we not start the interview with that?
So my grandmother, her maiden last name is Franklin. And so I'll show you a picture because they kind of look alike.
Oh my gosh.
And that's my grandpa. She swears, can you see her? She swears that she
I can see it.
Like they're distant cousins, and she went to California and she went to Aretha's house and she told Aretha that she was dressed inappropriately, which honestly, knowing my grandmother, that could happen. That's like a 50-50 chance. I don't know why she'd lie about that, but I could see her telling Aretha Franklin to like cover her boobs up. I could see that happening.
That's such a good story. That's got to be worked into the next Hollywood Homicide or something somehow.
Oh, no. It's like, and I was just like, if I ever meet Aretha Franklin, I'm going to be like, do you know my grandma? Did she tell you to cover your boobs?
That's amazing. I don't think I have any fun stories like that.
If you have to go to LA for some stuff for your TV show, you'll find some LA because celebrities are everywhere.
Yeah, that's so true. That's wild. Yeah, I mean I grew up listening to a lot of like old Black people music, I guess, like oldies, like the Spinners, the Stylistics, like, and so anytime I'm listening to that kind of music,
do you write with music?
That was a question I was going to ask you too. I do, but it depends where I am in the process, like what I'm listening to. If I'm like trying to power through a deadline, I'll put on Lemonade or some album that like I love and I can write through, that I don't necessarily try to sing along with because I cannot sing along with, I mean, most singers, but Beyonce for sure. I don't have a great voice at all. So I do, but sometimes when I'm like, it's 3:00 in the morning or whatever, and I'm like, I just need to send this out, I will not listen to anything. But that's the only time I need to have it in the background.
See, I'm the opposite.
Drift.
Really? I hate writing. I hate it. Like if I email you, you'll see that if you go down to the bottom, it says, "I hate writing, love having written." It's a Dorothy Parker quote. So, but I love rewriting, and so
yes,
I can't have anything, and I only can write if I sprint with people. Like, this is me, professional writer, 4 books in, y'all. And
sprints are great. Sprints are great.
Oh yes, yeah. I do it with my friend Liz pretty much every day. And so, and I'm still far behind on the book, but whatever.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that too.
It's I can't have anything because I get distracted. Like if I have Beyonce playing, I'll be trying to like do the uh-oh dance like in my living room and like not writing. And so like I can't. But I think that's the great thing. I hate when people are like, give advice to writers, because I'm like, you have to find what works for you. And I think sometimes people want to make people feel bad. Like I don't write every day. Do I think about my book every day? Yes. And I hate people like, well, if you don't write every day, you're not a real writer. That's bullshit. You are a writer. You have to write more than you don't write, And so I hate to like give advice. I can just say, this is what works for me. And you have to unfortunately find what works for you. And don't feel bad if what works for Stephen King is not what works for you. You guys are both writers. You and Stephen King are both writers person listening to this, And so that's the thing. So
yeah. That's a really great point. And I feel like even depending on what I'm working on, what I need changes. Like if I'm sitting on a couch versus sitting at my desk, like journaling, am I writing an essay?
Do you journal when you figure out your books?
So this is a really good question. I just bought like my 6th journal this past week, where I was like, I'm gonna start journaling again, and then it's probably gonna turn into another journal for something else of like notes or whatever. But I do want to get back into it, because I used to, when I was younger, write in like a diary kind of thing. And especially with this book, my book coming out last year, there's so much happening, and so many emotions. In general in life, there are so many emotions, but also having the book come out and like just the year that 2021 was. And it's hard to remember some of those really great feelings, especially if like you're tagged in a negative post and you're like, just what's going on?
Don't get me started on that.
This? I need to go back to my happy place. And so that's where I really want to be in terms of journaling, like writing down, like after this conversation, I want to write down how much fun it was and how this kind of thing makes me feel, because it feels so nice to be in community. But I think it's when you're like stressed or overwhelmed, it's hard to figure that out and balance everything.
Have you heard of a site called futureme.org?
Writing it down.
So I have been using it for probably over 10 years, and you literally send letters to yourself in the future. And I don't journal every day, but like if there's a point where I'm super low or super high, I will write a letter to myself and send it to the future. And I love that, because it's kind of like, it's funny because I'll get a note from like 11, and I'm like super depressed. And I'm like, what am I even depressed about? Like, I don't remember that. So it helps me put things in context of, I'm really upset about this now, but in, a year, sometimes even tomorrow, I'm not going to remember this, And so don't give that much energy to it and let it ruin your whole whatever, because it's, it's life.
Yeah. That is wild too, when you find those things from I've recently found some like stuff from high school, like my notes on random things, and then like my diary. High school Zakiya had a lot of feelings.
All the feelings?
All the feelings. And who knew she was going to put them in a book one day? But what's your next venture? What are you working on now? You're working on your next book.
Yeah, so I have a 2-book contract, which is great, but also it means I have to write another book. And it's interesting because I had a hard year with the pandemic. My grandpa passed away last summer, and I was like super close to him. Yeah, it was hard. And like, he was like, my dad already passed away and my grandmother had passed away. So he was like pretty much the last person in my dad's side of the family. So I'm the one in charge of like getting everything together with his estate. And so I've just been going through a lot of stuff, and it's interesting because I talk about the whole strong Black woman thing in Like a Sister, which we actually haven't talked about, but in Like a Sister, I talk about the idea of the strong Black woman and like feeling like we have to be strong and take care of everything, and trying to like allow myself to be like, I'm not okay. Like, I'm not okay. Like I once a month I have a cry. I have a I just sit and I cry.
It's so important. It's so important.
Yes, and I would never allow myself to do that. And it's funny because that's one of the benefits of the pandemic. And unfortunately, my grandpa passing away is like, Kellye, like, just admit you're not okay. And so I had a book that was due in January, and did I finish it? Nope. But I had to be
Good
like, instead of making myself feel bad about that, because then I'm not going to write. If I feel bad about not writing, I'm not going to write. Right? Versus like, oh, this was just a bad day because I had to take care of, like, I have a day job, work stuff, or estate stuff for my grandpa or something like that. Anyway. And so, so I've been very slowly working on a book, which I'm really excited about finally. And I was not excited about it last year. It's called Missing White Woman. And it's
wait, we have to pause for that title. That is I immediately am like, give this to me now, please.
It's interesting. So it's about I was at a writer's retreat maybe like right before the pandemic in Baltimore at a friend's house with a 4-story row house. And I was by myself and she was not in town. And I was like, I could come downstairs from this bedroom and find a dead body in the foyer and not know how it got there because I could not hear anything. And her neighbors would be like, who is this woman? Like, that's the mystery writer in me. And I'm always like, what's the worst that's going to happen? And so, the neighbors would be like, who is this woman? Like, why'd she kill the person? And so that's the book, is this Black woman and her boyfriend come to Jersey City for a romantic getaway. And she wakes up one day and her boyfriend's missing. He's gone. And there's this missing white woman, kind of like a Gabby Petito, like who's been in the news. Like everyone's talking about her, like all the TikTok sleuths are looking for her. And she's dead in her foyer. And like what happens when no one knows who she is and they just think either her or her boyfriend killed this woman. And it's interesting. I had the idea around the Gabby Petito thing of the TikTok sleuths, because there were all these TikTok pages that would just talk about what happened to Gabby and have these really just out there, like, because they weren't real like police officers. So they would just, any random theory they had, they would throw it out there without thinking like, what's the repercussions of pretending like, oh, this man who I saw here is obviously like the guy who killed our Brian Laundrie. And so I'm really like playing with that idea a lot too. And I'm just like, I'm finally having fun with it. The problem is I'm still behind on it, but I'm having fun with it. And I know you're working obviously on the Netflix adaptation of The Other Black Girl, but do you have another book idea you're dying to write?
Yeah, I mean,
it's okay to say no. It's totally fine.
No, the thing is, I do, and that sigh, and people can't see me necessarily, but I just looked off into the distance, and that was me looking at all the ideas that I have, and I'm just like, I can't. I'm the kind of person who, sort of like what you're saying, I feel like you have to really be ready to be in that space, and I just know I need to be like marinating in some juices when I start writing this book because
sometimes you have to, because otherwise you're just going to put crap on the page and it's a waste of time.
It's a waste. Exactly. It's a waste of time. And I really want to use that time to the best of my ability, especially because I've been, fantasizing about that time for a while. So later this year, for sure, we'll be hopping into that. And I can't say too much.
Do you have a 2-book deal, or is it?
It was just one, which in some ways is great, but also like I'm a deadline person. Like I will wait to the last minute to do things, but that's oftentimes the time when I put out my best work because I'm like, I can't fail. It's very unhealthy, but it's been working for me in this way. So I have to really give myself deadlines or make my lovely agent give me deadlines. So I'm excited to hop into that. I downloaded Scrivener recently for my first time.
Girl, good luck with that. I've tried it so many times and I cannot figure that out.
I've only been using it on my computer. I heard the conversion to the phone is hard, but I like it just because
I didn't know they had Scrivener on the phone. The idea of writing on the phone scares me.
Yes, I know. No, but I like it just because you can organize just characters. You can have a whole. That's really what I need. Like I like visualizing more so than tabs on Microsoft Word. I mean that's me so far, not having really started the book, but We'll check in.
You have to be positive. You have to be like, yeah, I'm Scrivener. I'm going to kill it, Scrivener. I'm going to kill it.
It's going to be great. Well, I feel like I could talk to you forever.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna get drinks.
Yes.
Not in 2025. We're gonna get drinks probably tomorrow. I'm gonna be like, look, let's hang out.
Yes,
let's do it. I come to the city a couple days a week for work, so let's do it. So even though goodbye to everybody else, it's not goodbye to you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Kellye. This has been, again, such a delight chatting with you. Thank you for all you are doing for the mystery writing community, for the writing community, for Black writers. Like, everybody needs to check out Kellye's work. And thank you, Always Author, so much for having us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for inviting me for the chat, and to Always Authors for having me come. It was a fun combo.
Thank you for listening. Please visit alwaysauthors.com to learn about upcoming episodes, to read a transcript of this episode, to buy the books discussed here, and for more information about our sponsors, bookfinity.com and Buxton Books. Always Authors is an exclusive production of Atomic Focus Entertainment. Cheers.